After spending thousands of resin on artifact domains, these are the main 3 things every player needs to know about. One of the most important things you need to understand when you're farming for artifacts is that they are not equal to one another when it comes to how often you will see them appear. If you're still not aware of this, the 2 artifacts that will always have the same main stat are the plume and the flower artifacts. So no matter how many times you will collect them, plume will always have the flat attack for its main stat and flower will always have health. The tricky part comes next, and that's because sands, goblet, and circlet artifacts will have their main stat randomized, and after collecting hundreds of these artifacts and recording what main stats exactly showed up, the conclusion will surprise you. So the first thing that is important to understand is that main stats all have equal amount of chance to show up, except for one crucial case. For example, the Sands artifact can either have attack, health, defense, or a specialized stat. Now this specialized stat can either have elemental mastery or energy recharge, so this means while Sands can get the other 3 stats without further randomization, the specialized stat gets randomized additionally, which ends up as a 50-50 chance to either get elemental mastery or energy recharge. Basically, if you have the Sands and the possibility of 4 different main stats, if you manage to get the specialized stat, then you move over and play the lottery for 2 more possibilities, which can either be elemental mastery or energy recharge. You can probably guess what this means for an artifact like the goblet, which is the only artifact that can have up to 7 different damage bonuses, or elemental mastery as its main stat, not to mention the other 3 stats that you can find anywhere else. And this is why it's so hard to obtain elemental damage bonus on your goblets, especially if you're looking for a specific one, like trying to get electro damage bonus on a Thundering Fury goblet. And the biggest reason why you need to care about all of this is that because of how hard it is to obtain specialized stats, you actually need to save up your artifacts that have these stats. This is even more crucial if you have these stats available on your 4-star artifacts, because while you can start to obtain quite a lot of 5-star artifacts from Adventure Rank 45, you will still be missing out on a lot of specialized stats that you may only find on your 4-star artifacts because of how many more you will obtain them. So for example, when you're building your main damage dealer, you usually want to have either a circlet that provides critical rating or damage, and you might only have this main stat available on your 4-star circlets, especially if you're trying to activate an artifact set bonus. So instead of using your 4-star artifacts as upgrade materials and waiting until you can get a 5-star circlet with critical rating or damage, it's better to just use a 4-star version until you can find an upgrade for it, since it could take a while because of how random it can get. All in all, make sure to be very careful with every artifact that has a specialized stat and keep them in your backpack before you use them up for upgrading your other artifacts. You never know when will you get the next goblet with your preferable elemental damage bonus, even if the one you have right now is mediocre at best. The current state of Genshin Impact when it comes to team building revolves around one main damage dealer and everyone else acting as support. And the reason why this is such a common strategy really comes down to resources. Building one character that can deal a lot of damage is expensive enough, but trying to do this with multiple characters is even more time consuming, especially if you want to build teams for the Spiral Abyss. This is why everyone is currently focusing on 2 characters that can be excellent damage dealers, and the rest of the teammates are there to provide various types of support. So it only makes sense that some artifacts are going to be more valuable than others when it comes to building your support characters. The essence of Genshin Impact lies in elemental reactions, and you will surely have at least 1 or 2 teammates who will be able to provide consistent damage from their abilities. And one of the cheapest ways you can make your support teammates valuable is by switching to artifacts that have elemental mastery or energy recharge as their main stat. Currently, you can get elemental mastery on every artifact except plume and flower, while energy recharge is only available on Sans artifact. And as you know, elemental reaction damage depends on only your character's level and their elemental mastery, so while your skills could be dealing low amount of damage if you're lacking a leveled up weapon or talents, your elemental reaction will be very high just because you have a couple of artifacts with elemental mastery as their main stat. And this is one of the cheapest ways you can get any character to become a valuable teammate, even if they're lacking a strong weapon or talents. And there have been multiple studies conducted on the efficiency of elemental mastery, and the conclusion was that it's a very reliable stat that can keep increasing your elemental reaction damage at a steady rate. Basically, do not underestimate elemental mastery or energy recharge when it comes to building cheap support characters, and you probably already have few artifacts with elemental mastery as their main stat, so make sure to save them up and use them, especially if you're the type of person who wants to grow a lot of different characters without investing too much. While it's obvious that the biggest power you can get for your characters are the artifacts, there are some challenges when it comes to balancing between efficiency and resin. And this only becomes more troublesome once you start your journey from Adventure Rank 40 to 45, since the domains have an increased chance of dropping a 5-star artifact, and it might seem like a good idea to start farming, especially if you have trouble beating the Spiral Abyss. However, one thing that gets rarely mentioned is the fact that once you get to Adventure Rank 45, every time you complete an artifact domain, you are guaranteed to receive at least one 5-star artifact, and there's even a small small chance you could get 2 5 stars instead. Of course, leveling your adventure rank from 40 to 45 can take a lot of time, and it would be irresponsible to not get at least few artifacts. But at the same time, if you have fragile resin or even spend primo gems to farm these domains before your adventure rank 45, you are severely undercutting your efficiency at getting 5-star artifacts. Probably the best recommendation for those who are on their way from adventure rank 40 to 45 would be to instead focus on everything else like ley lines and ascension materials, while at the same time do the artifact domains once in a while, but instead focus on 1 or 2 of them, especially the ones that can benefit your main damage dealer, since there will be plenty of 4-star artifacts you can choose from, and even if you're lucky, maybe even few 5 stars as well. But to quickly summarize, artifacts have more randomization involved when it comes to specialized stats like elemental damage bonus or critical rating, so make sure to save up and utilize your 4-star artifacts before you focus on trying to obtain these stats from your 5-star artifacts. And if you want to make your support damage better by utilizing elemental reactions, then use any of the elemental mastery or energy recharge artifacts you have so that you can get a pretty cheap boost for your team's performance. Finally, if you're on your way from adventure rank 40 to 45, don't focus too much on trying to obtain 5-star artifacts, since they are only guaranteed to drop starting from adventure rank 45, so it's best for you to balance between the other resources and the occasional artifact domain instead. Enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe to us by hitting the bell notification on and gently pressing the like button. You can also get more useful Genshin Impact news and guides by following us on Twitter. Thank you for watching us.